There is a saying, not all storms come to disrupt your life, some come to clear your path. But sometimes, the storm is not outside of us. Sometimes, it wears a familiar face, a friend, a family member, a loved one. And so, the path to clarity begins not with judgment, but with observation. In this life, you will encounter many people. Some come to share peace, and others come to disturb it. The most dangerous ones do not enter with shouting or violence. They enter with a smile. They come quietly, not to take your life, but to feed from your light. How do you recognize them? Begin by feeling, not thinking. Words can lie. Apologies can be rehearsed. Kindness can be a costume. But energy never lies. When you sit with someone, listen not only to what they say, but to how your soul responds. Do you feel calm or caged, uplifted or unsettled? This is your first compass. Then observe patterns. Do they repeat the same actions that hurt others even after being forgiven? Do they pull you into drama, conflict or exhaustion? Demons rarely come with horns. They come as wounded people who hurt others under the guise of being victims. When a pattern drains you again and again, it is not random. It is a feeding. Pay attention to your own emotional state. If being around someone consistently stirs confusion, fear, guilt, or self-doubt, this is not love. That is poison. And poison does not heal just because you drink it more slowly. There is another sign, the refusal to take responsibility. When someone is never wrong, when they always blame others, when they twist truth to fit their story, they are not in search of peace. They are in search of power. And demons feed not only on your energy, but on your silence in the face of their chaos. The most deceptive ones are those who do good things for the wrong reasons. They offer help to control. They give affection to gain loyalty. They use closeness as leverage. And their true intentions surface only when you say no. That is when the mask cracks. That is when the demon reveals itself. But perhaps the most difficult part is this. We often cannot see the demons in others because we are carrying too much within ourselves. We excuse abuse because we fear loneliness. We tolerate harm because we call it loyalty. We overlook betrayal because we want to believe in potential instead of reality. To spot demons in others, you must first confront them in yourself. The need to be needed, the fear of conflict, the illusion that love can change what truth cannot. Only when your vision is clear can you see clearly in others. Do not seek to fight demons. That gives them more energy. Instead, step back. Hold your peace. Let them reveal themselves in the silence. Distance is a sacred medicine. Remember, not everyone who walks with you is walking for you, and not everyone who shares your blood shares your soul. So protect your peace, trust your inner voice, and when you feel the presence of darkness cloaked in familiarity, do not be afraid to walk away. Some bonds must be broken for your spirit to remain whole. Energy never lies. This is a truth beyond culture, beyond belief, beyond language. It is something we feel before we can explain. Before words are spoken, before gestures are made, we already know, deep within, whether a presence is nourishing or draining. We may not admit it to ourselves right away, but the body feels it. The breath changes. The muscles tighten or soften. The spirit either expands or contracts. This is energy speaking. You may sit across from someone who says all the right things. They express love, support, concern. But inside you, a quiet discomfort grows. You leave the conversation more anxious than calm, more confused than clear. That's because what was said and what was meant were not the same. The words were a veil, but energy, unfiltered and unedited, passed straight through, and it told the truth. This is why you must learn to listen with more than your ears. Watch how people move when no one is watching. Feel how they enter a room. Do they bring stillness, or do they carry noise in their silence? Do you feel more like yourself when you're near them, or less? Energy is not what people say about themselves. It is not even what they believe about themselves. It is what their presence does to you. We live in a world trained to worship appearances, politeness, charm, reputation. But energy cannot be photoshopped. It does not ask permission. It speaks in the space between words. It speaks in the aftertaste of a conversation, in how you sleep after they leave, in how your dreams feel when their name is mentioned. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are those who wear the most agreeable masks. But if you trust your inner knowing, before logic, before guilt, before habit, you will feel it. A force that doesn't match your rhythm, a pressure where there should be peace. That is the signal. To honor this signal requires courage, because it often shows up around people you love, people you've trusted, people who've shaped your story. But truth doesn't bend to comfort. Energy reveals what we wish was not true, and ignoring it only deepens the wound. So do not argue with what you feel. Do not ask for more proof than your soul already knows. A demon dressed in soft words is still a demon, and when your spirit begins to whisper that something is wrong, let that be enough. Energy never lies, but we often lie to ourselves to protect the illusion. Let that pattern end with you. Let truth be the language you learn to read first, not in words, but in the invisible echo that every soul carries. Repetition is not always growth. Sometimes it is a warning, a cycle, a quiet alarm sounding in the background of your life. Destructive patterns don't always explode. They repeat in subtle, familiar ways until they become normal. And this is how demons hide, not in chaos, but in routine. You will notice it in the way certain people keep hurting those around them, then apologize, then repeat. You will hear it in the stories they tell. The enemies always change, but the conflict stays the same. Today it's a co-worker, yesterday a friend, tomorrow it will be you, but the root is never them, not in their eyes. They move through life like smoke, never holding shape, never taking responsibility, and you become part of the pattern by forgiving the same wound under a different excuse. Watch closely. Are they always the victim in every story? Do they cause harm, then frame it as a misunderstanding? Do they disappear when accountability knocks at the door, only to return when you've quieted your own anger? That's not growth. That's a loop. Demons live in repetition because it allows them to feed unnoticed. They drain your time, your patience, your empathy again and again, under the illusion of change. But nothing changes. The words evolve, the tone softens, but the action stays the same. And over time your boundaries erode, not because they overpowered them, but because you let exhaustion replace clarity. Be honest with yourself. How many times must someone show you who they are before you believe them? Not who they could be, not who they were for a moment, but who they consistently are. Patterns are the truth people try to hide with words. Patterns are the reflection of intention, not emotion. The hardest part is that these patterns often show up in those closest to us, family, lovers, old friends, and because we've seen the good in them, we become blind to the damage. We tell ourselves, but they weren't always like this. No, maybe they weren't. But the pattern is not about what once was, it's about what keeps happening now. You must become the observer. Step back. Look at the story without the attachment. What role are you being asked to play again and again? Are you the forgiver? The fixer? The one who absorbs what others refuse to face in themselves? That is not love. That is self-erasure. To break free, you must interrupt the rhythm. You must do what the pattern never expects. Change. Not them, you. Because the pattern is not only in them, it survives through your participation. When you no longer respond the same way, when you no longer tolerate what is disguised as temporary, the cycle begins to collapse. Destructive patterns are the signature of unresolved darkness. And those who refuse to change are not confused, they are comfortable. Your discomfort is the price they rely on you to pay. Stop paying it. Start watching. Start remembering. The past is not the measure of who someone can be. The pattern is. And once you recognize it, you are no longer under its spell. People often ask, how do I know who someone really is? But the better question is, how do I feel when I'm around them? Because every person is a mirror. They reflect something back to you, not just who they are, but what they awaken in you. This is not always a conscious exchange. In fact, the most revealing signs are not found in words or actions, but in what stirs quietly within you when they are near. The mirror of emotion does not lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't explain. It simply reflects. When someone enters your space, your emotional response becomes a signal. Do you feel safe or small? Energized or drained? This reflection is not about their intent. It is about their effect. Some people will leave you feeling heavier even when they say nothing hurtful. Others will make you question your worth, even if they never insult you directly. Their energy disturbs your inner peace, not because you are weak, but because their presence brings confusion, guilt, tension, or fear to the surface. That is not coincidence. That is a mirror showing you something you cannot yet name. Pay attention to what emotions consistently arise in certain relationships. If someone regularly triggers anxiety, anger, or self-doubt in you, do not ignore it. That emotional pattern is a reflection of a deeper truth. It is not about having a single bad day or a difficult moment. It's about the repetition of discomfort, the way your heart tightens before their name lights up your phone, or the way you feel empty after sharing your time with them. Some people do not speak curses, but their silence is sharp. Some do not yell, but their subtle disapproval lingers like poison in your system. You try to reason with yourself. You say, they didn't mean it, but your body knows, your spirit knows, and your emotions respond, not to their performance, but to their presence. Others will reflect light. They will bring calm where there was chaos. They will make you feel more like yourself, not less. They do not need to fix you or impress you. Their energy simply allows your truth to breathe. This too is a mirror, a reflection of alignment, of resonance. The mirror of emotion is one of your most powerful tools, yet it's often ignored. Why? Because it doesn't speak in logic. It doesn't care about loyalty, history, or how much you love someone. It shows you the truth of the dynamic, not the story you tell yourself about it. To read the mirror clearly, you must be willing to sit with what arises. Not to blame the other, but to ask, what is this person bringing out in me? Are they activating peace or provoking wounds? Are they nurturing your growth or pulling you into self-abandonment? When a demon hides behind a friendly face, the emotions it stirs will not align with love. It will not inspire clarity or strength. It will cause you to shrink, to question, to ache in ways you can't explain. Trust this. Because the mirror never lies. It reflects what your soul has already seen, but what your mind may still be afraid to accept. The truth is always there, quiet, consistent, emotional. And when you finally stop looking through excuses and start feeling through presence, you will see exactly who is standing in front of you, not by what they show, but by what they reflect. There is a silence more dangerous than shouting, the silence that follows harm with no ownership. The absence of accountability is not just a flaw in character, it is a shadow that erodes trust, dignity, and truth. When someone refuses to own the damage they've caused, they create a space where demons thrive, not in fire and fury, but in excuses, redirection, and denial. You will know this absence when everything becomes someone else's fault. The problem is never them, it is always you, or the circumstances, or the misunderstood tone. They twist truth like a thread, pulling it tighter until it strangles clarity. And if you confront them, you may find yourself suddenly on trial for your reaction rather than their action. This is how the game is played. A person who lacks accountability will rewrite the story before your eyes. They will speak with such certainty that you begin to doubt your own memory. They will say, "You're too sensitive," or "You took it the wrong way," or "That's not what I meant," until your inner compass spins in confusion. This is not resolution. This is manipulation disguised as explanation. True accountability is not afraid of discomfort. It does not run when faced with the truth. It says, "Yes, I did that. I hurt you. I was wrong." These words are rare, and when they do not come, what remains is a silence that says more than any apology ever could. A silence that protects ego at the cost of relationship. You must observe this carefully, especially with those you love. Because love often makes us believe that if we just explain better, wait longer, or forgive deeper, they will finally see. But those who avoid accountability are not waiting to understand you. They are waiting for you to give up your boundary and stay quiet. This silence is their shield, and your patience becomes their permission. Sometimes, the refusal to apologize is not forgetfulness, it is strategy. Because if they admit fault, they lose control. And demons do not release control easily. They thrive in imbalance, in one-sided efforts, in cycles where they harm and you heal, they wound and you mend. You may think you're preserving peace by avoiding confrontation, but peace built on your silence is not peace. It's compliance. And every time you swallow your voice to protect their comfort, you step further from yourself. Accountability is not about perfection. Everyone fails. Everyone falls short. But those who value truth will take responsibility. They will repair. They will reflect. And most importantly, they will not make you carry their guilt as your burden. When someone consistently refuses to be accountable, they are telling you something very clearly. They are not willing to grow, and no amount of love, time, or sacrifice will transform someone who has decided that nothing is ever their fault. Do not beg for clarity from those who benefit from confusion. Do not look for repair where there is only deflection. And most importantly, do not confuse forgiveness with permission. The absence of accountability is not a void. It is a decision. And once you see it clearly, you have a decision to make too. Will you continue to make space for someone who refuses to take any? Your peace depends on your answer. Not all smiles are kind. Some are practiced, worn like armor, worn like bait. In a world where people are trained to appear good rather than be good, intention becomes the most invisible force in the room. It hides behind warm words, helpful gestures, and carefully timed affection. But even the brightest smile can carry a shadow if you learn to look closely. Intent is not always spoken. It's revealed in patterns, in pressure, in timing. You may meet someone who seems endlessly generous, always there when you need them, but over time, you feel something underneath. A pull, a debt, an unspoken expectation. Their kindness is a contract you never signed, but are constantly reminded of. This is not love. This is control, disguised as care. There are people who master the performance of goodness. They know what to say. They know how to look concerned, supportive, humble. They use politeness as a shield and charm as a weapon. And because the world rewards appearance, they are rarely questioned. Their smile becomes a mask that blinds others and disarms your intuition. But watch what happens when you say no, when you don't agree, when you set a boundary or stop playing along. That is when the smile slips. That is when the true intention leaks through the cracks. Someone whose kindness was real will understand your boundary. Someone whose kindness was strategy will see it as betrayal. You must learn to feel beneath the surface. Ask yourself, what follows their help? Peace or obligation? What do they give you and what do they expect in return? Sometimes the price of their support is your silence, your submission, or your loyalty in situations that betray your own values. This is not compassion. This is control, dressed in courtesy. The most dangerous intentions are not loud. They are subtle. A compliment with a sting. A joke that cuts deeper than it should. A favor that becomes a leash. These people don't raise their voice. They raise doubt. In you, in your sense of what's fair. And because they are smiling, because they are nice, you question your own discomfort. But energy does not lie. Even if the face is soft, the undercurrent will reveal itself. You will notice it in how they listen or how they don't. In how they remember only what benefits them. In how your spirit begins to shrink even as they continue to offer their help. It takes strength to see through the mask, especially when it's worn by someone you love, especially when others don't see what you see. But intention leaves footprints, even if it wears velvet shoes, and your soul feels the weight, even when your mind is trying to explain it away. Not all smiles are safe. Some are weapons, polished daily to keep others close while keeping truth away. And when you feel that subtle dissonance, that gap between what someone shows and what you feel, it is not paranoia. It is perception. Learn to trust it. Learn to pause when something feels off, even if you can't name it. Because those with hidden intentions count on your doubt. They rely on your politeness. They use your kindness against you. You don't need proof to protect your peace. The absence of sincerity is enough. And once you stop confusing surface harmony with real connection, you will begin to see people not as they present themselves, but as they truly are. The hardest demons to see are the ones you invite in, the ones you protect, the ones you defend, because they wear the face of someone you love or someone you once needed. But often, the reason darkness stays in your life is not because it hides well, but because you refuse to look. Your own blindness becomes the shield that protects the very thing draining you. We blind ourselves in many ways. Sometimes it's loyalty. You tell yourself they've been through a lot, or they didn't mean it, even when the harm is clear. You excuse patterns because they fit a story you're not ready to let go of. Or maybe it's guilt. I can't abandon them, you say, even as they continue to abandon the part of you that's trying to grow. Love becomes a fog when it's tangled with fear. Fear of being alone, fear of confrontation, fear of being wrong about someone you once trusted. So instead of facing that fear, you rationalize the behavior. You look away from the obvious. You make peace with what should never feel normal. And the demon? It doesn't hide. It waits. It thrives in your hesitation to see clearly. Blindness is not always unconscious. Sometimes, deep down, you do know. You feel it in your body. The tension, the shrinking, the walking on eggshells. You hear it in the voice inside that says, this isn't right. But you quiet it. You say, now isn't the time, or maybe I'm overreacting. And with every moment you ignore what you feel, the blindness deepens. There are also demons we see in others only after we've healed the ones inside ourselves. Because as long as you're carrying wounds, you will be drawn to those who reflect them. If you haven't yet learned to respect your own boundaries, you will find yourself in relationships that test them. If you have not yet faced your fear of abandonment, you will tolerate people who threaten to leave every time you speak your truth. The blindness isn't just about them, it's about what you still haven't faced in you. To see clearly, you must be willing to feel what you've been avoiding. The grief of outgrowing someone, the pain of realizing someone never loved you in the way you loved them, the anger at yourself for staying too long, hoping they would change. These are hard truths, but they are also liberating, because once you see with honest eyes, you are no longer trapped by the illusion. Clarity requires courage. It means being willing to walk away, even when you still care. It means choosing peace over loyalty to dysfunction. It means understanding that your love cannot heal someone who refuses to see the harm they cause. You are not weak for being blind. Everyone has moments where they ignore their own wisdom. But staying blind, choosing not to see when the truth is in front of you, becomes complicity. And at some point, the pain of seeing must be faced. or it will keep returning, disguised in different people, dressed in different situations, until you finally open your eyes. The demons around you can only remain if the one within you, the part that is afraid to let go, continues to protect them. When you awaken to this, the spell breaks, the fog lifts, and for the first time you will not just see others for who they are, you will see yourself, clear, strong, no longer afraid of the truth. And that, more than anything, is what sets you free. In the quiet spaces between words, in the energy that lingers after someone leaves the room, in the repeated patterns we try so hard to ignore, there the truth lives. Demons do not always arrive with fury or fire. Sometimes they enter gently, through people we love, through habits we've normalized, through the silence we keep to avoid confrontation. But just because something is familiar does not mean it is safe. And just because someone smiles does not mean their presence is pure. To spot demons in friends and family is not about judgment, it is about awareness. It is about seeing what your soul has felt all along, but what your mind was too loyal, too afraid, or too hopeful to accept. It is about trusting the subtle signs, the way your body reacts, the emotions that rise, the peace that disappears in their company. It is about recognizing when kindness is a tool for control, when accountability is absent, when patterns repeat despite promises. Most of all, it is about facing your own reflection, your own blindness, your own part in the cycle. Because no demon stays where it is not fed. The moment you choose truth over comfort, clarity over illusion, peace over performance, that is the moment the spell begins to break. You are not here to carry what breaks you. You are not here to shrink so others can remain unchallenged. You are here to see clearly, speak honestly, and walk freely. Let your awareness be your protection. Let your energy be your guide. And let your boundaries become the fire that no shadow can cross. Because once you see clearly, once you truly know, you can never unseen. And from that moment on, you are no longer afraid of the dark. You are the light.